Okay, guys, we're here with a very special guest. Very happy to have Justin Wheeland with me. I've known Justin for a long, long time. For those of y'all who don't know him, Justin lives here in Aiken, and he is a director, a writer, a producer, and an actor. He has his credits. I think is it 25 Emmys you have?
Yeah, I just got three more in June. So, yep.
So that's nice. We can say, "Hey, I just got three more." Like I just got three loaves of bread last week. He's had ads that he's directed appear on the Super Bowl, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Um, he was the founder of the Southern City Film Festival that took place a few years ago that got canceled by COVID. So if you don't know Justin, he's a kind of a freaking big deal here in town. So Justin, how you been doing, man?
Good, and you?
Good, good. So a little background. I think you're from Augusta, is that right?
I was born there, but I'm pretty much from here. Just
From here? Okay. Did you go to high school
there's
here and all that stuff?
yeah, Aiken and Millbrook and all that stuff. So, yep.
Good, good. Okay, so how did you get into the film world? Like a lot of people had those aspirations, desires. So how did you get into that?
So I was obviously really big into golf in middle school and high school, and I thought I wanted to be a pro golfer. So after high school, I went that route, but it just didn't really go that great. I
That's,
kind
that's,
of
that's a hard. There's a
yeah,
lot of really good golfers, aren't there?
yeah. I mean, you can be one of the even the best collegiate. I mean, there's people like Matt Hendricks and Dane Burkhardt and these guys that are some of the best in college, and then they turn pro, and it's just for whatever reason, it's not always lack of talent. I mean, it's just for whatever it just doesn't work. So, it's the same as a kid shooting hoops and just saying they want to be LeBron James. I mean, it is so tough. Anyway, I that's what I thought I wanted to do, and I tried it, and it just didn't. It did not. I saw the writing on the wall. It wasn't really going to happen for me. So I knew I had to pivot to something, and then I had a friend who was a casting director, and I had never done any acting or anything like that. And then, I was talking to her and had some conversations, and she kind of uh, put me in a movie and just a little small little bit part, and I just fell in love with it. So really, it was just getting that exposure to the film set, and then me just falling in love with it. And so I thought I wanted to be an actor, and that's what I transitioned to, and then did that for several years, and then I would, but on the sets, I was always like watching the directors and just I was just fascinated with what they do, and sometimes on days where I wasn't even shooting or supposed to, my character wasn't even in the scene, I would just kind of go and just watch. So I was just
Right.
fascinated with the filmmaking process. So then I kind of transitioned again into directing, and that's where I really seem to have found my stride. So.
Right, right. And I know 'cause we talked before about it. You've been in a fairly decent number of movies as an actor, correct?
Yeah, I mean, some parts are bigger than others. Some I got cut out completely. Some, I mean, that was one of those things too, where it was going fine, but it just wasn't like, I don't know if I didn't have a huge break or I wasn't that good, but either way, it wasn't like, it wasn't firing on all cylinders, so to speak. So had to transition into something else adjacent to that. So,
Yeah, yeah. So with your, would you say right now you're doing more directing or producing?
oh yeah. Yeah, I mean
Okay.
that more than full time. Yeah, I mean it's everything I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So as far as the awards you got in the different Emmys, have those mainly been for stuff you've written and directed, or what have they been exactly?
Well, they've been for so many things at this point. I mean, usually the producers are the ones that get on it, or they're allowed to add a director, a writer, somebody, basically just somebody who contributed significantly to the piece is kind of how I name it. It's really up to the producer to figure that out. So luckily for me, I kind of produce everything I do anyway. So some projects I've written, directed, some I even shot them. So it's through the last 25, it's been just a variety of roles. I've won for directing, I've won for commercial and PSA and lighting and audio. I mean, just all kinds of technical categories, along with you know, different just best commercial, best PSA, best sports video, whatever the category is. So,
Now, so Justin, for the technical stuff, the filming or lighting and stuff like that. I mean, I know people go to college, they go to the school, I forget the name now, Orlando, they go to LA. Like, did you get any formal training or did you just pick it up?
no, I mean, just nowadays, even I'm not that old, but even when I was first starting in it, I mean, I think film school was kind of like the the thing you're supposed to do. I mean,
Right.
it was
Mhm.
actually just starting to move away from that, I think. You had big guys like, I don't know if it was Tarantino or some of those guys. They said, look, if you've got this money, just make a movie. You're going to learn everything you need to do.
Yeah,
So, but now it's sadly for film schools, it's really turned away from that now. I mean, now you can learn everything on YouTube.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, I taught filmmaking at USC Aiken for a year. So, I mean, it's not to discredit those things. It's just everyone knows that they're very expensive. And they're great for networking, they're great for job placement, and you will learn everything, but for people that don't want to spend 4 years and $100,000, you can learn quite a lot of it elsewhere now.
yeah. I'm certainly no expert, far from that, but even for myself, I bought, Final Cut as my editing software. I got a
Yeah,
$3,000 camera and some lights, and it was just
yeah,
amazing the stuff you could create, you know, with that right there.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, what people is you really just need the eye. I mean, it's that's kind of the differentiator for me is you can watch all the videos you want and you can go do it, but you really just have to. It's almost like taste. If someone has good taste, I mean, I don't know how to describe it other than you just have to have you can learn technical aspects and what 3-point lighting is, or how to create shadows and shape light, but you still just have to be able to, at the end of the day, you have to discern, okay, this looks good or this looks bad. And if you can't really do that, then all the other stuff doesn't matter.
yeah, yeah. So, folks, as I said earlier, Justin was the brains behind and one of the main forces of a film festival we used to have in Aiken called the Southern City Film Festival that was going along great. Then, COVID hit. So, tell us, what was your idea behind getting Aiken to have a major film festival?
Well, what's funny is you were part of that inception in a roundabout way. So do you remember the Homebrew Film
The
Festival?
homebrew, I'm a two-time winner of the homebrew. Yes,
That's
exactly.
So they had that, and I remember we did your short, and we went, and it was nice. I mean, everything about it was great. I think Emery Langston
Yes, that's
started,
right. Mhm.
um, and I actually went to her one day, and this was very maybe well, not naive because it worked out well, but I went to her one day and I said, hey, like I've got a lot of ideas to make something a lot bigger and better. And she could have said thanks, no thanks, I don't need you, but she said, okay. She goes, tell me what you're thinking. And so I just kind of outlined like a real legitimate uh international film festival is what I wanted, because
Right.
homebrew was just, but I still kept that DNA of there still is like a home, I forget what we call it, like a homegrown category.
Is there?
Um
Mhm.
of that homebrew essence, but still, then we took films from all over the world. So, um, yeah, I can tell you why is because when I was growing up here in Aiken, film really didn't exist in any capacity. I mean, I knew they did That Darn Cat, like Who's Your Caddy, and maybe a handful of stuff, but that's it. Really not more than I mean, this was before Waiting for Butterflies and even a couple like that. But still, maybe in it's Aiken's whole inception, it's probably had less than 10 films made here.
Right.
So basically film didn't exist. And so when I was growing up, I always thought, well, that's Hollywood is, that's thousands of miles away and that's too far. But then as Atlanta started to slowly started to pick up steam and, you know, as a side note, I don't think people realize they do more in Atlanta now than Los Angeles.
You
So,
know, I'd read that we were in Atlanta a few months ago and drove by the area where all these huge studios are, and it kind of blew my mind at how big it was.
well, everyone, and it's because it was this way for 100 plus years, but everyone thinks Hollywood is the Mecca and it's in LA and it's in California and that's where movies are made. But it's here. Like it's literally they do more in Atlanta. And Atlanta is actually getting so super saturated now that they have to go outside of Atlanta to Savannah and Macon and
All right.
Covington and Clint Eastwood and Mel Gibson and all these people are in Augusta doing movies. So but that's a tangent. Anyway, I knew that I wanted to start something here, and it's more than the film festival. It's an institute for the kids too, because we worked with hundreds of kids through a lot of different schools, and we went in and we bought filmmaking kits and we let them create and make their own movies and commercials and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, I just wanted to give kids kind of exposure to that filmmaking world and we were having a blast and we loved it and um, the film festivals were awesome and people really had a great time and but then of course we did one we did our 2019 and then when we were planning for 2020 I guess around February or March that's when everything
Right.
kind of we couldn't do the 2020 version and then we said, all right, well, let's kind of plan for 2021, but you couldn't really meet and you really didn't know if large gatherings were going to happen in 20, you just didn't know. So we didn't do 21. And then just kind of life took over and stuff. And sadly, we didn't do the last few years, but we do want to get it going again. So I can tell you at some point in time, it's definitely coming back because people ask all the time and we like doing it. So it's coming back at some point for sure.
Good. And for those of you guys listening to this who weren't in Aiken at that time, it really was a big deal. I think it went over, was it 2 days or 3 days that it went over?
Oh goodness, it was like 4 or 5 the very one of the first couple years, and that was actually a bit too big, too fast, kind of
Yeah.
just I mean, we didn't know what we didn't know, but it was a lot. So sorry, I
Yeah.
got I'll
And
go.
films were shown in venues all over town, and it was really a fun event. So hopefully we
Yeah,
can get that. It's good for the economy. It brings eyes and ears to Aiken. It brings these filmmakers here, and
yep,
just you're like me, like with the picturesque town that we have, and the houses and the
yeah.
gardens and everything. You would think more films would be done in Aiken. You just wonder why it
Well,
hasn't.
it's I can tell you why, and it's because of South Carolina's really poor tax incentives, is why. Um,
And,
you
and
know,
that's why Georgia's been so successful, right? The tax incentives.
Yeah, Georgia gives basically 30% back. So whatever you spend past a certain amount, whatever you spend, they'll write you a check for that amount back. So you take like the last two those big Avengers movies, Endgame and whatever the other one was. They think they spent like $1 billion in Atlanta making those two movies, and of course the state's just going to write them a check for 300 million. And then South Carolina, I think it's really bad. And I say that everyone knows it. I mean, even people like Danny McBride tried to move here and they did move here. He moved to Charleston and he tried to lobby for better tax incentives so he could even make more. The problem with South Carolina is there's only a certain pool, and once it's gone, it's gone. So
Right.
Georgia's basically unlimited, where you have to apply for South Carolina's, and once that 10 million or so is met, like that's the cap. So it's really bad and it doesn't encourage anybody shooting here, and that's why you just don't see that much compared to Louisiana and New York and New Mexico and places like that.
So, folks, I guess about 10 or so years ago, I got to know Justin pretty well. He was the, I think, director and producer of this crazy reality show that was filmed in Augusta. And he got me to be one of the cameramen. What was that called? Was it Grits and Glory? What was
Yeah,
the name?
that's a story. Yeah, Grits and Glory. It was just, in fact, I wasn't, no, I didn't direct, I didn't produce. I was just kind of a guest actor thing in that for like,
Okay.
it was supposed to just be one episode, but that was so crazy because they followed these guys who were trying to be MMA fighters. I guess they were
Right.
MMA fighters, just trying to make it big. And um, it was all leading to this like big fight in Charleston. And this is completely unscripted. Like it, I know reality shows can be tweaked a bit, and you're not a million percent sure what's true or not. But this was all completely true and unscripted. The one of the main guys went to the fight in Charleston, and he died right after the fight. I mean, like fight goes backstage and then he died. And I remember even we were there that night and everyone thought it was fake and just part of the show. I mean, everyone knew they were filming the reality show. There was cameras and stuff. So even as they rushed out to the crowd and asked for paramedics, they just thought it was a scene or something. So that was a wild, sad, tragic time. Mm.
It really was. But believe it or not, you may not know this. My job was to film the people and interview post fight. And so I was actually filming this guy when he basically had a heart attack and seizure and died on camera. So it's
I've
really
heard
a wild
such a
thing.
Oh, you were at the show in Charleston.
Yeah, I mean, I have on film
You
when he went through that. Yeah, yeah, it was nuts.
yeah.
The Grits and Glory, it actually
Mm.
was a pretty good concept, but it did not make it. But again, another point of they filmed that in Augusta because Georgia has much better tax breaks than South Carolina does.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we'll end on this. So, what kind of projects you have coming up?
We just finished a thing for Nike for the Paralympics. Some really beautiful spots about some Paralympic athletes. We're working on a movie that we would like to shoot in the next few months. What do we got? We've got lots of little fun projects that don't take super long. I mean, even just I mean, I ran into the owner of that True Aiken store, Sarah, and I said, "Hey, I'd love to like help you out and do a video." And so I mean, there's a lot of big things on the horizon, and there's lots of like little smaller things that are just fun to
Like,
mix in. I would tell you one thing. I didn't post about it yet, but I got to check off a bucket list guy this year that I so done Jordan and Michael Jordan and all the big names that I've wanted to, but there was one guy who always eluded me until this year. And then I got to finally shoot with and talk to and interview Tiger. So
really? Wow, that's a
yeah,
huge wow. I mean, because
I've
his
always
access is very difficult to know.
yeah,
So.
no, I mean even when we met, when we were shooting with him, I mean he had multiple bodyguards and all kinds of stuff around him. So I mean it's intense. I mean, I I I kind of met him. I mean, I really didn't talk to him for a millisecond and fist bumped him like a couple years ago, but I didn't really quite count that as like meeting him per
Eating.
se. But yeah, but then, then when we got to shoot with him, that's when I talked to him and he talked to me. And at the end of the shoot, I said, "Hey, can I get a picture?" And I mean, he was so gracious and kind and, he didn't have to be. He could have just gone about his way, and that would have been fine too. I always I'm of the camp like the celebrities are never really obligated to take pictures and stop their day just because I want them to or something. So no, he was great. He was amazing, and that was just awesome for me as a golf nut and he's one of the greatest of all time. So
Well,
that
if
was
if you've had met Jordan and Woods, I
yeah.
don't think you go much higher than those two. So,
I don't
well,
know. A lot all of the last few presidents have uh been great, met them, so I don't know how much I don't know who's all there's some actors I would love to meet but yeah, this it's been an amazing ride just getting to work with these people. There was I don't know if you know this, there was a shoot we did last year where we went out to Michael Phelps's house for like 3 days.
really, I
And
didn't know that.
yeah, so
How was he?
he's amazing. He's incredible. In
Yeah,
fact, it was a crazy shoot because, obviously everyone knows Michael Phelps as the greatest Olympian of all time and all the gold medals and, swimmer. But, when I was sitting there, it was just me and him, and I had my guy. And I mean, there was really only like three of us doing this thing, and him included. And we're in his living room and we're in his kitchen and we're outside. But he was telling me in great detail about, how he tried to kill himself and why he tried to kill himself and, all this, what led to it. And I mean, it was surreal just having this, icon of sport just sit here and like empty his heart and soul to me. I mean, he really is kind of talking to the audience, but, when you see him, he's looking at me and I'm asking the question. So that was really wild too.
because you realize even though they're celebrities, that they're human beings too, and they have the same frailties and faults that we do. So,
Very much so.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Justin, thanks so much for coming on here. This was highly interesting. And folks, again, if you don't know Justin, look him up online. You'll be like uber impressed with his accomplishments. Look for stuff he's doing. Hopefully, we can get the film festival back here and
Yeah.
have a great rest of the summer, Justin.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, man.